Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/PettyRevenge. In today's episode, call the police on my kid for watching a movie? No afternoon nap for you. Won't honor your warranty, then I'll tell the story on the biggest morning radio show in the state. Finally got my mom with her own words. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Call the police on my kid for watching a movie? No afternoon nap for you. So I just read a story on here that reminded me of my dad's personal petty revenge story. I was around 10 to 12 when this happened. Our old next-door neighbor was a nosy, lazy sum. She liked to complain about almost everything. My sister, 5 years older, had friends ranging from the same age to a few years older, and they would often come to our house for most of every weekend. Sometimes it'd be a couple friends, others up to 15 or so. The neighbor, surprisingly, never complained about a bunch of teenagers being at our house every weekend. Until she decided to, I guess. They never made a lot of noise. My dad worked weekends and the number one rule was do not keep dad awake/wake him up. This was during school holidays in summer, so my dad had the following day off. My sister had 3 friends over, and that night, all they did was watch a movie. It wasn't loud, Dad couldn't hear it from our veranda, they didn't even stay late. They went home about 9:30. Come just after 10 p.m., 2 cops rock up on our doorstep. A noise complaint from our next-door neighbor about a wild party. They were obviously confused as they were greeted by a grumpy late-30s guy in a dressing gown, book in one hand, smoke in the other, cup of tea on the table in front of him, just chilling on his veranda, instead of the rager they'd been told about. Dad was like, "Look, I hate the kids coming here, but tonight, 3 kids were here watching a movie, they left over half an hour ago, I don't know what she's on about." He was pissed. He didn't enjoy our house being the designated hangout place, but, as Mom always said, at least we know where our daughter is. But even that night, he wasn't annoyed because it was a small group watching a movie. If it was any other night, he'd be annoyed because just come over and tell him they're being too loud, but don't call the cops because they're watching a movie. Our neighbor would always have afternoon naps at 1 p.m. Her bedroom was 5 m from our driveway, so pretty close. Our front yard was also huge. Our house was pretty small and sat on over a quarter acre. 2/3 of that quarter acre was our front yard. Well, next day, the lawn needed mowing. It being summer, our summer temps go into the 40s in Celsius. Dad would normally mow as early as possible in the most efficient way possible. It would normally take him 40 minutes. Not that day. He waited until 12:45. And then he started the mower. And did it in the most convoluted way possible. 2 hours of mowing. Then, being the responsible camper that he is, he decided it was time to count the tent pegs. They're kept in a metal army box. There's about 300 pegs in there because why not apparently? So out to the driveway, right next to her bedroom window. 1 peg at a time, he took it out, stood up and threw it full force at the driveway. Bang, clang, clash, you get the picture. The one at a time, he picked them up off the driveway, stood up, threw them full force into the metal box. Bang, clang, clash. She came out to scowl at him a couple times, but didn't say a word. He was extra cranky that night due to the probable heatstroke, but he always had such glee when recounting the story. Won't honor your warranty, then I'll tell the story on the biggest morning radio show in the state. This happened a number of years ago. We had a good friend pass in a bad motorcycle accident on his way home from work. His wife was watching our son a few days a week while my wife worked. My family, Mom and Dad, opened their home to his family from out of town while they were all trying to take care of all the details involved with someone's sudden passing. Well, it was getting close to winter in a northern state and his wife's car needed to have the snow tires put on. My father asked if I would get it taken care of so she didn't even need to think about it. Absolutely anything to help. I got hold of her keys, headed to the house, found the tires, set them out to start changing them. At this point, I noticed that one of the tires had a large balloon protruding from the sidewall. I looked for and found the paperwork. Always keep that stuff with the car, very helpful. The tires were less than a year old. So I took the paperwork and the tire down to the shop where the purchase was made. Now it's important to know two things. 1. This tire shop is very well known with numerous shops throughout the entire state. And 2. The accident happened at the intersection where this shop is located. It was so bad that the shop was closed for the duration of the on-site investigation, a couple of hours, because no one could get in or out of the shop parking area. So it literally happened in their front yard. It also made the local news 2 days in a row. It was a bad one. So my wife and sister, I forget why I stopped to get them, go in to have them simply replace the one tire as it was absolutely unsafe to use. I asked for the manager, which had been the manager for many years. I know this cause my family and most of my friends and acquaintances use this shop so much so that I asked for manager by name. I explained why I was there, whom I was there for, showed the paperwork and asked him to take care of it. I even mentioned that I will pay for any fee. The tires were definitely under warranty, and this was definitely a defective tire. His response made my blood instantly boil. He said, "There is nothing I will do." Yes, he said, "Will, you are not him, and it's too bad he died, but his is the only name on the paperwork and only he can claim the warranty." I glared at him, asked through clenched teeth if he was serious, and is that really the kind of person he wanted to be, as this man died outside his shop less than a week ago. Again his response, "Company policy, not my problem, you can buy one if you like." I was so angry and disgusted I could barely see straight. So I looked him square in the eyes, took the paperwork from the counter and said, "Okay, you will regret this as I have a very big mouth and will tell everyone I know." And that's exactly what I did. First I took the tire and paperwork, drove quite literally across town, 30 minutes, to a different shop. This shop is used by THR company I worked for at the time for all their fleet needs, but mostly tires. I walked in and just happened to get the owner. Asked if he was aware of the accident. He said he was, and how horrible it must be for his family. So I then explained what I was doing, trying to just replace this defective tire. He did not sell this particular brand, and I told him I was more than willing to purchase even 2 new tires, to keep things balanced, from him if he could help out. He said, "Sure, but I'll have to ship them in from the other store, it'll take just a day or 2. Great, see you then. 3 days later, it was a Tuesday, I get a call from the new shop that tires were in. He said, "Bring the car and we'll take care of everything, must, balance and install." Awesome, I'll be there after work. Headed down there and he ordered 4 new tires, mounted, balanced, installed them, but they did everything at no charge. The owner's response was, "I just want to help her. I don't want her to have to worry about something as stupid as a tire. And your payment is please tell your friends about us." I won't lie, that made me choked up a bit. This man had no clue who I was, who my friend was, but he chose to help a person in need by replacing a product that wasn't even his. It was awesome. The next thing I did was tell everyone. And I mean everyone. That next day, Wednesday, I called our local radio station morning show. This show was very well known and broadcast over half of the state, and parts of 3 others bordering us. And I told the whole story. About the refusal of this well-established local shop and also the awesomeness of the new guy. At first I simply told the hosts of the show off air. The only reason I think they even listened was I had done some work for one of the guys like the month before. But after they heard the story, they told it on air. There was only one name used in their discussion, that of the new tire shop, and a unique description of the bad guy. It was amazing. If you heard or had seen the news, you knew about the accident and where it happened and could then discern who the bad guy was. It was shortly after that a buddy whose company used bad guy shop for their vehicles told me that the manager was no longer there, and a friend of his who worked at a different location had heard that he was let go for fraudulence. Apparently he would make up company policy as he saw fit. And because of the broadcast, there was some clarification of managerial power within that company. It turned out to be quite an embarrassing situation for that company as a whole. I never expected anything to really come of my self-imposed righteous indignation, but it was glorious the way things played out. I told everyone I could to go to the new guy for years. Right up until I moved out of that state. But as you can see, I'm still telling everyone who is willing to listen, or read as the case may be. I guess the moral of my story is, when you have a chance to do something good, something to help anyone in distress, whether we know them or not, take it, do what you can even if it is a small thing. At the very least you will feel good knowing you did a good thing. Finally got my mom with her own words. This one isn't as wild as some I see here, but I figured some of you guys would appreciate the type of parent I have in finally getting a good solid moment of triumph. My mom is a piece of work, and I recently had to move back into her house as an adult. And she's been nonstop, exceptionally selfish and entitled. But that's cool. I can go with the flow. I hate it and it wears on me, but what you gonna do, right? I usually keep my cool and hold my tongue because I don't like rocking the boat, but every single time she says something, I always picture what I want to say in the moment. I mean, like everyone does, eh? Well, today, I finally had enough. We're at the store and she picks out a pack of Palm Bays for herself while I'm there just grabbing a snack for later. I casually ask what flavor she got to start conversation. She tells me, and I go on ice. Could I try a sip when you open 'em? I'd love to try it to see if I liked it. You'd think I told her I was going to kick her dog. She clutched them to her chest, makes a disgusted scoff at me, and goes, "These are mine. Get your own." So I shrug, say okay, and head across the street to get some matzo sticks while I wait for her to finish. We get in the car, I open my takeout box, and without taking her eyes off the road, my mom just extends her hand. Silently, doesn't ask, just holds her hand out to me. I casually and purposely eat my first mozzarella stick, and I look at her and go, "Yes?" And she scoffs again, as if I just asked the dumbest question in the world, and goes, "Can I have one?" So I smile with the biggest shit-eating grin, theatrically and deliberately dip it in the sauce, and go, "These are mine. Get your own." Granted, she did follow up with making some incredulous noises and said, "Wow, I can't believe you actually thought I wouldn't give you a sip of my drink." Ha! But I don't care. Despite her backpedaling like an Olympic champion, I just kept grinning and did, in fact, eat all of them right there in the car without sharing a single one. Because they were mine. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.